Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Car Dealership Guy Industry Spotlight. I'm your host, Sam Dark, and coming up today, if you ask a BDC agent how they manage 200 leads a day, they'll often point to a process that's overwhelmed, reactive, and prone to human error. But in 2026, relying on manual follow-up, it's a recipe for leaked retention. Customer engagement has become a high-stakes race where a 9-minute hold time in the service drive is enough to drive your client straight to the independent repair shop down the street. Between the impossible expectation of white glove service at scale and the challenge of capturing overnight leads, dealerships are fighting a battle for loyalty they can't win without an assistant that never sleeps. In this episode, we discuss why the set it and forget it mentality for technology, it's a myth, and how AI-powered personalization is the only way to deliver the best or nothing experience across both sales and service. We break down why the staff plus AI model is delivering outsized returns and how one group handled over 100,000 leads with a digital assistant, and also why proactive messaging will define the luxury of dealership of the future. Joining me today are Rebecca, Business Development Director for Walters Auto Group, and Art Dessen, Vice President of Sales at Impel. Props to Impel for supporting today's content. Now, let's get into it. Becky, welcome to the Car Dealership Guy Industry Spotlight podcast. Tell everybody, for those who don't know you, tell us who you are and what you do out there.
Good morning, Sam. Thank you.
Good morning.
I'm the Business Development Director for Walters Auto Group. We're a luxury group here, serving brands Porsche, Mercedes, Audi, and Sprinter. For 6 different rooftops. So I've got a busy day. Yeah.
You have a very busy day. And actually, you have a high level of expectation as it relates to your brands. Mercedes-Benz, we have one. It's the best or nothing. Tell us, before we talk about the solution that you're bringing to share with our audience today, tell us about the problem that preceded it. So what is the challenge of servicing high-end luxury brands from a BDC standpoint today?
So that challenge is starting the experience for the customer. Our customers expect that white glove experience from the start, so from whether they're filling out that form and waiting for a reply via text or email or over the phone, till they walk into the dealership and take their vehicle home. So it's a challenge to provide that on a mass level and to make sure that it's personalized and that it's going to get the engagement of our customer.
And the solution you're bringing for us today, it has to do with an AI-infused tool that's helping you to deliver the best or nothing to your customers. But before we go to that tool, walk us through what the challenges were of being a BDC manager for these brands. How many leads were you handling? What was your lead response time looking like? And what was the challenge to achieving that high-level standard back then?
So, a lot of leads. Each rep at that time was handling about 200 leads per individual. The challenge was just being able to get a personalized response and to keep up with the follow-up because, we wish all our customers responded to us day one, but we know that doesn't happen.
They don't.
So we've got to continue with that. There's a high expectation, not just from our group, to provide that high level experience, that luxury experience to our customers, but also from our brands, and they vary a little bit different, per brand. So it's really important for us to just stay on top of everything, be professional, be personalized, and really, just engage that luxury experience for them.
And who, prior to infusing it with AI, who was training your BDC team on how to deliver that experience? And then from a practical standpoint, how does one manager, and I think there's a lot of BDC managers out there that can relate to this, how does one BDC agent handle 200 leads in one day and do it efficiently, effectively, and quickly?
Yeah, it's a challenge, right? And some things, unfortunately, I have to say would fall by the wayside. But, as far as training goes, it started out with myself. Every once in a while, we would bring another vendor in. I'm thankful to have an assistant manager that now takes on the brunt of that training. But it's excessive. It is a lot. And our reps were feeling a bit overwhelmed as well. We're just after them to stay on process. That's a big key, to get the results that we want. But there's still limitations with that as well.
Yeah. And that human element, though, that's what we crave, that connection with customers. That can be a challenge, too, because to your point, mood life, everything that's going on in the world kind of dictates whether we connect well or not. So, Becky, was there a moment then? Did something happen? Was there a lead that fell through, a follow-up that didn't happen that led you to say, hey, there's got to be a better way? If we're going to be best or nothing, Mercedes-Benz, we've got to up our game somehow.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges we had was ensuring that we were getting to the customers as soon as possible, just with the quickest but best response, making that personalized to their inquiry. And another challenge we had was, the overnight, leads that would come in. This level of customer, they expect an immediate response. They want their answers and they want them now, or whatever information they were looking for. And so that was a challenge. Obviously, we can't have people work, in the middle of the night. We're not going to do that. But we needed to really solve that. And we needed to make sure that we're staying ahead of our, competitors as well. It's a very, very competitive market out here in SoCal, very flooded.
Yeah. So enter Art and Impel. So Art, how common is what Becky's sharing with us? A ton of leads per agent, a ton of activity per agent, a super high level of expectation, not only from the consumer, from the OEM, from the dealer group themselves. Really an impossible situation in today's world, Art.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much like any kind of large business that handles, thousands of customers. I mean, think about who wants to call a customer service line at your health insurance company, or who wants to call Delta Airlines, unless you have status, right? But if you don't, you're going to be in a queue, you're going to have a ticket, you're going to get a call back. It's incredibly complex and complicated, and it's not a great experience. And it's because they're handling so many consumers and they only have a limited amount of staff to handle all those consumers. So the experience on a per customer basis as they grow, as Walters grows, ends up being hurt. And what we found is with AI, you can actually give much more personalized experiences at scale that was previously impossible. Like, no longer should a BD agent need to handle 200 leads. Because if a BD agent will handle 200 leads from A to Z, they will, by and large, not handle those leads very well. And the same thing extends for service. There should be no service BDC that has to reach out to 50,000 consumers who have bought a car in the last 5 years to try to get them in for service, which is obviously the most profitable part, most important part of the business. And so AI has transformed the way that dealerships can engage and deliver meaningful relationships with consumers.
Yeah, and actually, you mentioned service, Becky. Does your BDC handle service as well? You do, right? You handle both sides?
Yes. Yeah.
So there's this statistic that I'm always quoting on the live show from CDK. It says the average hold time for a customer who's trying to contact the service department for whatever, to make an appointment, to follow up on their status of their car, is 9 minutes, according to CDK. This is a fact from last year, 2025. That's crazy. To your point, Art, even if you have... No one with status, no one with anything is going to wait that long.
That's for people who wait. Yeah, you have the problem with people who just don't wait and they end up leaving. And you know what they do is they end up calling the next dealership or the independent repair shop, of which there's, I think, 190,000 in the U.S. And that's who the stores are competing with.
Which, by the way, that's another trend that we've identified on the show is revenue into service departments is up because of inflation. Actual customer count and RO count is down. We're seeing a massive deflection off to independent shops. And maybe that 9 minute stat is part of it and the inability to run towards that. But here's the challenge, though, Becky, and I'm curious about this. You reached out to Art. You reached out to Impel. You said, hey, I'm interested in an AI-infused solution that will help us level our game up. But you've still got the human element of your team of BDC agents. When you went to them and you said, hey, I got a great idea. We're going to bring in some AI to help level us up. What was some of the pushback initially that you got? How did that idea float initially?
I think obviously there's always a concern. You bring in AI or a tool like this, a very powerful tool, and they think it's going to replace me. I'm going to lose out on income, opportunity as well. So we really had to reassure them that no, for once you are going to have an assistant instead of just being the assistant always. It took a minute for them to get used to it, and you go through normal, just learning curve when you're launching a new tool. But they realized very quickly that this is there to help them. We ensured that they were not going to miss out on any opportunity. And they're able to learn from AI as well. just with some of the verbiage and the consistency, is helpful to the entire team.
Art, I think the automotive industry is not an early adopter of AI technology. We're definitely a little bit of a laggard. How common is it that you see employees or agents competing against or trying to compete against the AI technology rather than collaborating, seeing it as a job replacement tool rather than something that helps enhance how we deliver in an impossible world? Because we can't deliver to the level that we could with it, right? Art?
As Becky had mentioned, if you are a BD agent and your job is to respond to leads and convert those leads, and moreover, if you're getting paid by, say, the number of appointments you set, and you have a piece of technology that can do a lot of the work that you're currently doing, or can go all the way to booking the appointment, which takes away some of the compensation that you otherwise would have made. But I think what we've learned is you should align the interest of the BD agents, right, the BDC, with the interest of the consumer using AI. So there's things that you can do, and you can change their call plans, right? You can repurpose some of the time that they used to spend chasing a consumer for 29 days when it wasn't really worthwhile, and they can maybe spend more time on vehicle acquisition and a service drive, or they can spend more time in equity mining. We've learned the lesson the hard way over the last few years that this can actually, 1 + 1 could equal 3. And AI plus staff could deliver outsized returns. Again, this is not just a variable, it's also fixed. But the technology needs to align with how that particular dealership operates.
Yeah. So Becky, talk to us about the implementation phase. For the dealers listening that are like, hey, you know what? Like, I see the need for something like this. I've thought about it for a long time. My average call time is that 9 minutes in service. I need to take that weight off the service advisors. What are some tips that you would give BDC departments in implementing AI as a tech? And then I'd love to talk about the results that you've seen since you've done that. So what are some tips or lessons learned during the conversion, Becky?
I think is just, listen to your vendor. Impel was great. They brought in a great team to guide us through that implementation process. And we were a little bit difficult. We have 2 DMS systems, so it makes it a little bit challenging.
What are who are they?
Before.
Who are the 2 DMS
we utilize Advent for sales and then CDK for service.
Okay. And does it plug in well to both?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We had to do some work, but
just a little bit. But you know what? Hey, we helped you learn something new.
True.
But they were great in getting that implemented. They have, a great set of verbiage already set up, the cadence. We had to adjust our cadence on our side because we do have some automation as well. And then taking some of those tasks off of the reps plate for the day too. So it was just a little bit of an adjustment that way.
I've had a theory for a long time. I don't know if this is true or not, that the better the AI technology or the better the tech in a tool, the worse the field staff is generally. You look at, Becky, you probably get the same. I probably get hit up by 100 companies weekly trying to sell us a new tech. The bigger the promises and the cooler the tech they say it is, the worse the field support is. And I have a theory, and I think in 2026, for you to successfully implement tech in automotive, you have to have an outrageous balance between tech and field capability. You have to have people that can speak automotive and plug that in and get buy-in. So you're not competing, you're collaborating, and you're understanding how to plug it in, as well as elite technology. And you kind of pointed that out. Talk to us about the value of having really good people on the Impel side to support that product launch and to support continuing product development through the course of, because it's not a one and done. You don't plug it in and walk away.
Yeah, very much so. We are extremely lucky to, and I'm going to name drop here, Art, sorry, but extremely lucky to have an experienced manager, Sierra. And she has been there from the beginning with us. And we weren't always the easiest, especially in the implementation phase. She did not bat an eye. She just, stood by our side, stood strong, guided us, through the process. I get texts from Sierra every day. And I could reach out to her with any concern, any question, and she answers right away. And she is flying all over the country all the time, and she's got a lot on her plate too. I never feel it as a customer. I don't feel like I'm any less because she has, multiple dealers and she's traveling everywhere. So, and then also the support team. If I ever need to open a ticket, I get a response right away. So the Impel team is very, very responsive. which makes this process a lot easier. We expect that, instant service as well. And that is something that Impel has been able to provide.
So Art, you're head of sales for the company. I've actually spent time with you. Your travel schedule is outrageous, right? You've got a tech that you would say is elite in automotive and its ability to deliver on the promises made. Talk to us about your field staff strategy and what it means to you to be able to have talented people sitting side by side with dealers. And then I want to make a personal unveil, which I have not done yet, but you go ahead first. Talk to us about your strategy as it relates to people.
I would say in the first couple of years, we struggled with how do we implement AI at the dealership, change management, how do you get people bought in, right? It's actually fairly complex. Like even at Impel, we use Salesforce for our CRM. I think we pay a Salesforce consultant 6 figures to help us, design our Salesforce and get what we need with it. And that's how most large organizations deploy products, right? You deploy the product and then you need a consultant that needs to come in there and they need to make sure that it's tooled properly to fit the way that your organization runs. And so for the first couple of years, we were, deploying it and it works fairly well, but we never had an amazing field staff that, a team that could go in the dealership, work hand in hand, not only with the GM and the BDC director, but with the end users, right? In this case, either the sales BDC or the service BDC or the service advisors, if it's cradle to grave, the salespeople, and more importantly, or equally as importantly, the CRMs and the DMSs themselves, and figure out, do we need additional integrations that can make the lives of the BDCs easier, that can be more efficient, more productive. So along with the field team and the technology itself, the integrations with your systems of records are just as important, right? You don't we don't want, for instance, a BDC agent to have 2 dashboards to work a single lead. And we certainly don't want the service department, who probably already have 3 dashboards open, to have yet another one. So it's really important for us to develop integrations that are important to the dealerships themselves. And that will make the lives of the end user a lot easier. So I think it's the kind of the confluence of getting staff trained properly so they understand how a dealership operates across variable and fixed, getting the integrations so that it can operate smoothly inside the dealership, and obviously having technology that actually works and providing these concierge-like experiences for consumers.
As an AI company, if you plug in an AI tech and you walk away and you have that competition, not collaboration, it's going to fail. And people are going to say, hey, it didn't work. And I think it's cool. I think it's interesting, Impel's commitment to those people and putting them in the spot. I know one of your reps pretty well, and he was talking to me about how he's traveling around working with dealers. And I'm like, Zach, why are you going in and talking to people? Why don't you pick up the phone, do Zoom, do more remote? He's like, it's part of the culture here, right? And that kid, I got to admit this, Becky, full disclosure, he's my son, Zach. So he had time in a car dealership many years ago. Then he went into some tech security sales. And he's like, Dad, I need a place that I can go be successful selling. And I'm like, dude, you've got to, AI is the wave. Your knowledge of automotive tied with AI is going to be elite. And I was talking with Devin, CEO of Impel, and he's like, let's give him a shot here. And I got to tell you, he's loving it. And I'm learning things from my COO role about how great field reps can service dealerships today, even in a world of tech. You've got to be there, Becky. It is so important for a technology partner to stand side by side with you in servicing. Agree or disagree? And you can disagree, by the way, even though he's my kiddo.
No, I 100% agree. I've dealt with some other vendors and trying to do just training remotely or, installs remotely. Doesn't always go over so well with all of the staff. Some of us can do it, but we also require that personal touch, for sure. So we definitely have that. And, as far as just turning AI on and just set it and forget it, you can't do that. You do have to continue to personalize it just like we would if we were just training our people. Impel has a great knowledge bank that we are able to personalize communication based on a lead source. We can relay a certain message to a customer or to all customers if we want. So if we're, going after acquisitions, we can give them a link in there to appraise their vehicle. So it's really, really helpful, really strong.
So Becky, you and your team were early adopters of the tech. You've been on it for years. Tell us how long you've been on it, and then how do you quantify the impact of implementing this technology tool since inception up to today? Yeah,
so we've been on with Impel for 3 years, almost 4 now. We rolled out service at first, and then not too long after rolled out sales. It's tremendously helped us. I mean, on the sales side, I see reps now are able to manage 300 to 400 leads, versus that 200 range where they were struggling as well. Impel has, handled 107,000 leads for us since we launched with sales. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Over 600,000 messages they've sent. They're capturing our overnight appointment volume, engaging those customers. And it actually has decreased our days to sale, as well. So we have seen that drop dramatically. Our show rates have not dropped either. If anything, they've increased since then.
Have you ever thought about a monetary number to put on the value of the tech tool on an annual basis?
It's hard. I mean, one of the ways that you can look at it is, how much do our people cost us, right? Which is, it's valuable investment. We have to do it. But basically, Impel is saving me, it is 10 reps, per se. So it's able to just provide that much effort and energy. That's one way we can quantify it. We can say, hey, it's doing the work of 10 people. Okay, what is that cost savings to us?
But here's the interesting part. How many BDC reps do you currently have?
I currently have 12 for sales, and I have 10 for service, plus the assistant manager and the lead.
So you basically have 22 reps. You haven't killed the BDC department, which, by the way, maybe that's the future of. But I think this is the fascinating part. You've taken that 9-minute average hold time, not saying that was your groups, but it's gone to probably, I don't know if you track hold time in service, because that may not be your area, but do you track the hold time in service?
We do definitely. And we've never been in a 9-minute hold, but the nice thing where we really see the difference on the service side is that Impel is going after our customers for us in the way of keeping them engaged to get that next service appointment, that first service appointment. And they're taking on some of that communication, the back and forth that our reps would have to do. So that does allow them to get to the phones quicker, any leads that are coming in as well. So that's a big improvement right there.
If you think about most operations at a dealership, really most organizations, all reactive. Like it's very hard for a dealership, for instance. And Sam, you have 40 plus stores, I think. But like, if I said, how many people next month are coming due for their factory recommended interval? Yeah. No one can answer that. It's impossible. But yet, if I ask a store, how many internet leads do you get? And I always get a precise number, 818 leads. Right, so they know the exact number of internet leads they get, but they never know the number of customers who are coming due for their next service appointments because the number of records in their DMS.
That's a lead, Art, right?
But you think about it, right? Like it's much more profitable to retain a customer because 27% will repeat purchase at your dealership. But it's really hard because the scale is so huge. If you're selling Chevy, It's a Chevy Tahoe. It's a Tahoe. You can compete on price. What you need to compete with is delivering amazing experiences. And what you can't quantify is what happens when you don't give that amazing experience. And Sam, you said at the beginning of the call, I think you stay in hotels and things because you get rewards. Yeah. And so my question would be why? And it's, of course, because I'm going to get status. And with that status, I'm going to get my personalized phone number that I can call. And I don't have to wait. I'm not, the masses. I'm going to be in my own class of people. And that's what you can do with AI across variable and fixed is you can give that level of, I think it's Delta Platinum Medallion or whatever it might be, or United Global Hotline. You can give that type of experience to every single consumer.
I don't know the number of customers with services coming due across the group. And that's a problem, I think, because those are leads. And actually, Art, you're connecting something that someone else on this show said. We had the service director for Longo Toyota. Becky, they may be a competitor, maybe not. I don't know. Apologize. No, but he said the moment a customer in 2026 has to pick up the phone and call your service department, you've done a disservice.
For sure.
You should anticipate that need and be there for them where they are when they are, which leads me to another question. Becky, there's a difference between the way you service that Mercedes customer and that Porsche. How do you configure that AI differently for Mercedes versus Porsche? Or is it kind of a one size fits all for your different OEMs?
It's not a one size fits all. I mean, obviously, some of the service intervals can be a little bit different. And we've had to adjust to that. Impel has helped us with that as well. Porsche clients, don't necessarily drive their vehicles as often as, say, our Mercedes or Audi dealer customers. So it's more of that trophy car. Still needs servicing though. But what's nice with Impel though is across the board, they want that experience. They want to feel special. Waiting for them to call us is not the answer. And Impel's solution has worked wonderfully for us. We've had customers actually thank the AI agent because it was the best customer service that they've received. And they don't know that they're speaking with AI. The conversation is so natural that it makes a huge difference for us.
Art, is that a goal in 2026? Is to create an interaction with AI where the customer isn't even aware that's what they're having?
Our view is I don't think the consumer cares anymore as long as they get to the outcome that they want quickly. And it's crazy that if you think about it, if I buy an $80,000 Mercedes, if I can even buy an $80,000 Mercedes these days, but like if I want to service it, there's only two ways I can service it. I call the dealership, which is kind of a pain, right? I got to find the number. I got to call. Yeah. I'm going to be on hold. I'm going to be bounced around. Or I got to go through the service schedule. And every single service schedule has the same issue, which is 80% of consumers who try to book through the service scheduler end up abandoning it because it's too complicated. They don't know what they click on. Is it a transmission issue? It takes 24 clicks on average. Those are the only two ways that you can book service. So inevitably, the consumer who's driving from work to home is driving past Jiffy Lube and Pep Boys and whatever it might be in California. Here we have Monroe Muffler and Brake. Like they're going to end up going there because in addition, they're not getting predictively messaged to say, hey, Sam, your car's coming due next month. Let me get you booked. And so you're losing all this business simply out of the inability to text effectively or email or communicate effectively or make the scheduling frictionless. And so the consumer ends up driving a Jiffy Lube and then they realize they can get a 15-minute oil change and not get out of their car and then forget it. Right now, you're going to spend years and thousands of dollars trying to regain that consumer's trust. And by the way, that consumer will not buy a car from you because he's no longer servicing at your dealership. So you've lost the loyalty that you could have cultivated. So there's all sorts of downstream effects. And we think AI can solve a lot. It's not going to solve everything, but we think it's going to solve a lot of the major issues that exist as to why retention isn't higher for dealerships.
So Art, I've heard you say in other places that AI is really restoring what the BDC was supposed to be in the first place. What does that mean to you in practice?
Yeah, if why were BDCs created? I think it was, now I wasn't around when BDCs were created, but I would assume that it's because
I was.
They didn't, the general manager or the business owner didn't feel like the sales rep should be handling leads and selling cars. If you're selling a car, should you be responding to a lead? No, you should be focused on the consumer because you need to deliver great experience. And so BDC was created to answer leads quickly and convert them at a higher rate. But I think what's happened is the same thing. It's really hard to get in touch with consumers. Email delivery rates are really low. A disproportionate amount of the BDC's time is spent on email. Consumers are submitting 8 different leads at 8 different dealerships. You have the inability to text them through various mini TCPAs, depending on which state your dealership falls in. It's really hard. The connect rate on phones, I get probably 50 phone calls a day. Now it says spam, or if it doesn't say spam, it's a number you don't recognize, so you don't pick it up. And then guess what? The consumer calls you back, and then you have call overflow issues in which you then have to buy more software to fix. So it hasn't solved some of the issues that they were meant to, simply because the technology wasn't there for the staff to be efficient. And by the way, it's a high turnover position. And so you got to retrain. And as you train, what gets hurt is the consumer, the relationship, the experience. And then it's kind of the same thing. It repeats itself over and over again. And AI has allowed the staff to connect with consumers much more consistently and much faster. And so the staff can spend time doing what they do best.
So, Becky, it's interesting. You've been on this for years now. You've seen the growth of the technology and the capability of the technology improve drastically. Yes. How would you best describe kind of that inflection point where it just overwhelmed what you thought you might expect from it to what it's doing today?
The nice thing is that Impel is always thinking forward as well. So, we're getting ready to actually launch a new version of like the knowledge bank. It's going to be much more personalized and customized for our customer. I don't know if I can tell you that aha moment, but it happened pretty quickly. It really did, where everything just felt comfortable. And we were seeing the results from it, with our customers engaging. And nobody is saying, are you AI? That doesn't come up in the conversation.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you and your auto group go from here? What's the next big challenge you're looking to solve? What's the next frontier for you?
To be better than the rest and stay ahead of everyone. We are always looking at new solutions or new features in solutions as well. And that's just something we've got to keep doing. We are very innovative as a group. We've dove into AI, a few of us ourselves, and are building applications and trying to, just find better efficiencies for ourselves. But I mean, you have to jump on the AI bandwagon. If you don't, you're not going to make it, honestly.
All right, Art, what does the AI-powered luxury dealership look like over the next 2 years? Who's going to get left behind in this transition?
There's two ways to think about it. One is, can you operate a lot more efficiently? We think the car market, the market isn't going to grow substantially. It might be the same. You have super high gas prices now. You still have tariffs. I mean, you have all these variables that you can't count on and you can't predict. And so for us, it's simple. It's dealerships should, and this is the only way they can compete, dealerships should personalize the experience as much as possible. I was just on a flight. Sam, you've been on those flights, and Becky too, where you get on United flight or Delta and there's your name already on the screen, AR, and then you could skip.
Yes.
Personalize it.
Yeah.
Even think about it. The airlines are personalizing the seat that you're in, which one would think might not be that useful, but they understand that is the way that they can compete. And they sell a commodity, right? They sell a flight seat. The dealership sells a commodity. It's a car, and every dealership sells the same Mercedes C-Class. And so it's all about especially if you're a Highline dealership, which, Becky, I don't know if you have this, but I just walked into a Audi dealership and they were talking about their $20,000 cappuccino machine. Why? Because they want to deliver amazing experiences when you walk in, right? It's why not do that when somebody submits a lead? Why make them wait? Why not deliver the information quickly? Why not predictably alert them their car's due and make scheduling easy, right? Just like if they're checking into a Marriott, you can get the mobile key and go right to your room. That's what you can do. So we think dealerships that don't focus on the consumer and personalizing the consumer experience will generally be left behind. Maybe not left behind, but they're generally not going to be able to compete. And a consumer is going to go where the best experience is, period. Because price is price. Generally, we think most cars are going to be priced the same way. You probably don't want to compete on price solely. So you got to compete on relationships, and you got to compete on experiences.
And Becky, what's your advice as we wrap up today? Last question. What's your advice for that dealer principal that's listening to the show? They're like, you know what? I've got a full BDC. Things are working well. It's not broken. I'm not sure if I want to really take the leap and jump into this right now. What would you say to that dealer principal listening who's on the fence today in May of 2026?
Well, something doesn't have to be broken to make it better. I think if you stop wanting more, you need to really evaluate what you're doing, especially in this business. But I think with AI, it comes to the question of it's not if, it's how fast. How fast can we get it implemented? How fast is it going to help us grow? If you want to continue moving forward and continue to be a driving force, you've got to jump in.
Becky Schuessler, BDC Director, Walters Auto Group, and Art Dessen, Vice President of Sales and Impel. Thank you both for joining us today for this Car Dealership Guy Industry Spotlight.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, Becky, thanks.
Thank you, Art.
Sam. Appreciate it.